You think you want to buy a home, but you have no credit? Did you know you can actually buy a home? That's right. I'm Corrie Sommers, your local Los Angeles Realtor, and you're going to want to stay tuned today because I am here with Natalie from Movement Mortgage, and we are going to discuss how you can purchase a home without a credit score. All right, everybody, it's me, Corrie Sommers, your local Los Angeles Realtor. Today I'm here with Natalie from Movement Mortgage, and the reason we're coming to you today is to discuss something that I saw on Instagram, and I was like, Natalie, I used to be a loan officer. Is this true? Like, I don't remember this. And that was purchasing a home without a credit score. Now that sounds pretty like, what? Right?
How can you? Yeah.
Exactly. So I want you to share, I think you lightly touched on earlier when we were talking that there's a couple of ways to do this, but there's just a real bottom line process, and it does have limitations. Much like when you hear about government programs and, oh, this program will give you $25,000 and everyone's like, yeah, let me get that money. There's limitations. And so I'm gonna let you take it away. Explain how someone that does not have a credit score, or if they have a bad credit score, would that also apply? I guess that's one of my questions. Let's start with someone that has no credit score.
So with a 0 FICO score, it means we pull up, nothing shows up. It can happen a few different ways. Sometimes it happens because you're too young and you haven't had credit long enough, or you're new to the States and you haven't been here long enough to establish a real credit score yet. Regardless, if your credit literally comes up as 0, we call it non-scorable, you can still get a loan. If you are by yourself and you want to buy a home on your own and you have a 0 FICO score, there are things that we need to do to establish credit on the file, which is building trade lines. So basically, we need 3 different trade lines or credits that you have. So cell phone, insurance, utilities, which is water, power, cable even. We just need to see 3 that you've been paying for 12 months. So if you can show me 12 months of payments on any of those 3 things, it's basically any payments you've made to live in a standard, apartment or anything, then I can build and establish credit for you. We take a base rating of 620, which is basically like the lowest credit score you can have and get a loan. That's how we're gonna establish a rate for you and stuff. We're gonna use the 620 FICO, but you can get a loan. And on FHA, we go off a 640 FICO, and the rates on FHA don't really hit for the FICO score. So a lot of the times when you have 0 credit, we're taking it FHA just because it's a much better rate. Yeah.
So that's amazing. I want to make sure I got that straight. So your cell phone bill, your utility bill, your power, electric, and your cable.
Yeah. Also insurance.
Okay.
If you have insurance, normally car bills will show up on a credit report, so it's not a car. Okay. But anything that you pay monthly that doesn't show up on a credit report, and normally that's like insurance, all of your utilities, heat, water, electricity, cable, cell phone, things like that. That's what you pay monthly for.
Right, and depending on your service providers, you can either go online and just pull the payment history and just pull that whole report, right?
One page report showing the payments for the past year, and that's all I need.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we can. It doesn't have to be too complicated. Sometimes it sounds like a lot and maybe complicated, but it isn't, because you can get that 1-page statement of any of the payments made.
Now, if someone is renting, would the monthly rent also be something that would help them qualify?
Absolutely. 12 months of rent payment, that's a trade line for us.
So here's the thing. I think we're so conditioned to having to have money down, high credit score, and all your ducks in a row, that's kind of what we all disseminate. Whether you're searching online, whether it's an article on Yahoo Finance or, some of the more respected websites, or you're talking to your friends or most real estate agents, because that's the most common and it's the easiest, right?
Totally.
This is a more difficult process because it relies on you being so diligent to pull and hold all that data, get it together, and send it over so it can get reviewed.
The cool part now is that pulling data is very easy to do.
Much easier.
Like 10 years ago, when not every single thing was online and like 10 seconds after clicking buttons, you can pull up 12 months of payment history, it was definitely harder. You'd have to go to the bank, you'd have to ask the bank teller to like print everything out for you. Now it's so much easier. It can take literally 5 to 10 minutes to get me 3 trade lines, proof of 12 months of paying them. It's a pretty simple process. We're lucky right now in that way with technology being where it is.
Now, but there are some limitations to this, correct? I think earlier you were mentioning certain price points this might not work for.
Yes, exactly. So it's FHA and Fannie and Freddie, so it's conventional loans and FHA loans. Basically anything government regulated, they allow for this. So any jumbo loans, this is not allowed. You have to have a credit score for jumbo loans. And in Los Angeles County in 2025, because those loan terms are already out, the limits, it's $1,208,000. So 1.208 million is the limit for conventional loans. Anything above that is jumbo. So that gives you a pretty big price point.
I mean, look, at 1.2 million, you can buy a condo. At 1.2 million, there's still parts of Los Angeles, mostly the San Fernando Valley, but still parts of Los Angeles that you can purchase a home. 1.2 will get you a home. Now, it might not be a big home. It might need some work, or it might be something that you weren't expecting, but it will still get you into a home. And I think that right there is powerful.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, yeah. Woo, I'm excited about this. It's funny, we were talking earlier, we were closing on a deal together where she's doing the loan for my client. And this is a minor miracle, so I kind of want to throw this in because it's similar.
Yeah.
He had a credit score, but he had no money, like zero. No money for closing costs, no money for down payment, no money to cover agent compensation, no money really to cover the appraisal or
anything,
his inspection.
couple thousand in the bank.
Yeah, like nothing, right? So this is my client, ended up getting a job 3 hours north, and after a month was like, I can't do it. And I'm like, well, let's talk about this. And we talked about where he was working. I said, okay, you're working on a military base. Have you served in the military? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, we can get you a home. He's like, what? I'm like, you can do a VA loan and you don't have to worry about putting anything down. Now the closing costs, but let's
We're gonna figure this out.
Yeah. So we did it. We were at it for about 5 weeks.
5 weeks though, that's it. That's because that's Corrie,
Yeah, that felt long to me because these were like 3-hour drives. But, and we truthfully had made 3 different offers.
Yeah.
The first 2 didn't work out because they did not want to cover the closing costs. The third one did. So my client came in, no money down. The seller covered the closing costs, covered compensation, not the full portion of compensation.
I was able to cover the compensation of 1% through the rate. So we bumped up the rate a little bit. It gave me back money for him to give to Corrie.
And what's great about that, especially with a VA loan, is that as rates tick down a little bit, he can do a streamlined refi and then drop his interest rate. He's in the home he wanted, no more commuting. I mean, can you imagine commuting 6 to 6.5 hours a day to work 8 hours? That would make me want to kill over on the side of the road. Like I would be like, I can't do this.
No.
He toughed this out, and as of this weekend, he's moving in and no more commuting. Super excited. But I want to say we ran into a monkey wrench, and the reason I'm sharing this with Natalie is because when you have a good team that you're working with, and if a real estate agent is recommending a lender, it's because that's somebody that's been tried and true and proven and has worked with their clients. So we ran into a small hiccup. There was undisclosed solar, right? And so when I first inquired about it, once we found out, the seller's agent said, oh, it's a lease and it's only $95 a month. We were like, oh, okay, fine. Because usually those leases can be transferable. Turns out it wasn't. It was bought and financed. So
they wouldn't transfer it.
And they would not transfer it. So we went round and round, almost fell apart, was able to keep it together by having the seller pay for it and my client paying for half of it in installments for over 5 years.
Through a loan, basically, with the seller. They did it outside.
Yeah, did it outside.
Because he didn't have, obviously, as we're saying, he didn't have the money to pay for this solar payment.
I mean, it was a total surprise, and it was $20,000. So let's think about this. Somebody who has no money to buy a house at the last 6 days it's being asked, well, you need to come up with $20,000. What? So we were able to work it out, and this is where negotiations are really important with your agent. This is really where I hesitate to say the word expertise, but experience matters because it does give you the wherewithal to say, wait, there has to be a solution. What are some options here? I mean, I went above and beyond. I had to do a promissory notice. I did a amortization chart, identifying when the payments were due, when the last payment was, and all spelled out so that both the buyer and seller have this. There's no surprises. There's no arguments down the road. They have everything to refer to. And yeah, that's about a little bit outside the scope, but because I have worked in finance, I've worked as a loan officer, I've worked in a financial planner's office, I have a little bit more of a diverse background that can help me think outside the box to get the deal done for you. And same way, we've talked about this before, Natalie has over 20 years as a loan officer for different mortgage brokerages and so much experience that sometimes I might think the deal is done, I'll call and be like, okay, I think we've hit a brick wall. And then she's like, well, what about?
No, let's think about that.
Yeah, and we put our heads together and we're able to make it work. So I think this is super exciting. If any of you are out there and you've been thinking, I want to buy a home, maybe you're on the younger side, you're still in your 20s, but you are working at a great job and you have good income, but you just don't have a credit score. Or like I've had a client who wanted to rent because he had no credit score, and I was like, well, why not buy? And he's like, well, I have no credit score. And I'm like, okay, well, you can work towards that. And this was before I knew this part, but I was like, I know you can work towards that. We can set up this and set up that, and kind of my other experience of like how we can establish credit. But if maybe you're in that same position, you stay renting because you don't have a credit score, because you like to work with cash. You like to save and buy your cars outright. You like to pay all your bills on time. You don't like credit because you've grown up where you were taught credit is not good. And there's some pros and cons to that. Yes and no. Like this country does operate on credit, but it can get you in a lot of trouble. So the point is, it's not a punishment. There is an option for you. And you had mentioned earlier how you had a current situation with a couple where one didn't have the credit score, but the spouse did. And you were able to go off of a higher credit score for the interest rate. So every situation is unique and different, but don't let not having a credit score stop you from home ownership, because at the end of the day, you are always paying a mortgage. It is either yours or somebody else's, and it's called rent.
That's true.
I always tell my clients that. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely.
We'll have to get together again in 2025 with new programs and talk about some of those things.
Lots of things coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, please take a moment to click the subscribe button below. And if you are considering relocating to Los Angeles, or you're thinking about buying and selling, you can do one of two things. You can get on my calendar below, or you can sign up for a copy of my relocation guide to Los Angeles, which covers everything about Los Angeles. And if you don't live here, it's a lot bigger than you think.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's a big city.
And what you like, where you work, all those things matter as to where you're going to end up living. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time.